I said this to you back in 22? In an attempt to weaken the power of the black vote, politicians in the state of Louisiana and Alabama are headed to the Supreme Court in order to redefine blackness and who can be black. That's right, in 2022, white men are going to the Supreme Court to decide on who can be black in this country. And then I said this. And if Brown is overturned and enslavement as punishment for crime is not written out of state laws, then all that takes us back to Scott v. Sanford, where the Supreme Court ruled that the Constitution does not apply to black people free or enslaved, and that the Negro has no rights that the white man is bound to respect. And remember, historically, Negro did not just simply mean black people. It also included indigenous people as well. Well, yesterday, August 25th, 2024, the Republican Party came out with this. Kamala Harris can't be president of the United States of America because black people aren't considered citizens under the Constitution. That's right. The National Federation of Republican Assemblies has cited the infamous 1857 Dred Scott Supreme Court decision, which stated enslaved black people weren't considered citizens. And they did this to prove that Kamala Harris can't be president of the United States. And this is the paperwork they filed to do it. They just didn't attack Kamala Harris. They also said the same thing about Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy. Cue the music. I never thought the leopards would eat my face. Oh, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. But they are! Every non-white person who supports the Republican Party supports a party who believes you shouldn't even be a citizen of this country. Black Republicans, especially you, and I see you all over the country, doctors, lawyers, nurses, friends, ex-cons. You're supporting a party who doesn't even think you should be a citizen of this country. How dare you? And you sit there proud chanting, "Make America great again," and let's take America.
Well, that's right. You heard them, ladies and gentlemen. They are using, or they're trying to use, the Dred Scott law. Now, just in case you don't know exactly what the Dred Scott law is, we got a summation at the end of this video to tell you about it. But basically what they're trying to say is that Miss or Vice President Harris is not a natural born citizen, or she wasn't born here because her parents were immigrants. She shouldn't be able to run for president. Now, if we go by that, though, then we have to go by every white president whose parents was of British descent first and came to America. Okay, so by that way of thinking, we're talking about George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, all of them. So then they wouldn't have been available or able to be president either. So this is just a bunch of bullshit, really, at the end of the day. This is why voting is important. It's not just about the president. It's about your local governments that's doing shit. It's about people who's able to challenge the law that usually wouldn't be able to challenge it in this type of way, in this gross manner. But if you have the elected officials that allows this type of behavior to happen in courts, then our rights starts to suffer. Okay, so we need to quit with that, well, voting doesn't change anything type of bullshit, because in your local elections is very, very, very important. You see the type of judges that's out here. They're repealing everything just to win. And that's not how it's supposed to go. Now, you don't want to vote, that's on you, but I don't want to hear no complaints. If you don't believe in the actual issues of your own city and county and what have you, that's on you. Okay? It's not just about the presidency. It's not just about the governor. It's about everything that's supposed to be an elected official. You should be involved in that. That's how you get your reciprocity. You hold people accountable. And if it's the people in the party that you usually support and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, you hold their feet to the fire and you get them out of there. Okay? So if voting wasn't this important, then why are they cheating out the votes? Pay attention to your actual states where they're getting people off of the voter list. So make sure that your vote, you're actually registered and what have you. They're trying to take people out. I had to check mine. Check yours. I know Texas is going through it right now. Georgia is going through it, what have you. So if this voting quote unquote thing isn't important, then why are they doing everything they can to cheat the vote? Okay? That's all I got to say. So just wrap up with this video. You're going to see at the end what exactly was Dred Scott. We got a quick summation of that. And remember what you're in this for. This is for your rights. This is for your freedom. You don't have to like every policy, but you can fight for the local policies in your own city and in your own state. This has been Bars and Politics.
Hi, my name is Matthew Pinsker. I'm a historian, and here are a few things you need to know to sound smart about the Dred Scott case. This is the story of a husband and a wife, two enslaved people who both filed for freedom in circuit court in St. Louis, Missouri in 1846 and set off an 11-year odyssey that culminated in 1857 in the most infamous decision of the U.S. Supreme Court. Dred Scott was held as a slave by a family that moved him first to Alabama and then to Missouri. And then he was sold to another man named John Emerson, who took him to Wisconsin Territory, present-day Minnesota, where he was held at Fort Snelling. There he met Harriet Robinson, who was the slave of an Indian agent. They married, they had 2 daughters, and then John Emerson owned both of them and their children, took them back to St. Louis. That's when, in 1846, Dred and Harriet Scott filed freedom suits in St. Louis Circuit Court. They knew that there was a doctrine in state courts called once free, always free. If you were an enslaved person held in free territory, like the Wisconsin Territory, then you should be freed even in a slave state like Missouri. That 11-year odyssey took them all the way up to the Supreme Court, the one that ruled against Dred Scott in 1857. The ruling had 3 main parts. First, it said that blacks did not have rights in federal courts as federal citizens. Second, it said that slave states no longer had to honor the once free, always free doctrine. And third, it said that Congress never should have prohibited slavery in the Wisconsin Territory in the first place, or in any territories. It was a dramatic blow in the sectional crisis. It created a huge firestorm of controversy, and ultimately is one of the leading causes of the coming of the Civil War. Even though the Scotts lost their case in court, they actually won their freedom. The children of Scott's original owners, some of them in St. Louis, had become anti-slavery. They had helped fund the Scotts' legal case for many years, and now in 1857 they stepped up and bought the family and then freed them. Dred Scott lived another year, but he lived as a free man. His wife and their 2 daughters lived the rest of their lives as freed people. There are still descendants of the Scott family in America today. Despite the tragedy of the case and its infamous nature, there was a human triumph within it.